you guys respect me being real. You expect me to be honest, and that's exactly what I've been doing in these videos recently. And I'm here with another one for you, and I feel like this one could be a very this could be where the topic tapers down, where I kind of settle the stream of videos on the subject. I've done this is my 4th video now on it, and I think it's the end of the 4-part little series I've done on it. And if anything else arises, I will be absolutely making another video on it. But I just want to say I've got a second channel for you guys as well. I do daily life vlog stuff. I document my training, my running, everything. So if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description. It's my lifestyle channel. And also, I want to thank everybody, especially from South Africa and the countries that have been more impacted by this than me and more divided than me about this. Thank you for all the amazing support and everyone who's backed me and appreciated me being real, appreciated me being honest and saying what MMA media won't. And what kind of got to me was people saying, oh, if this was real, if you knew what you were talking about, MMA media would say this. And I'm like, no, they won't. They're not real. They've got connections with fighters, with the ESPN. They can't just come out and be blunt and be honest and say a situation needs to change without... and they're not going to go at the champion and create a divide between the community and fans. And there is a divide, but it's a lot of positivity in the comments. Also a lot of hatred, a lot of racism, a lot of this and that been put out there. But you know what? We move, and I'm going to the top with this stuff, and we'll be back to normal videos soon. MMA content, solid quality work I'm going to put into this. We're going straight to the top. I've got a little army of you all coming with me. So everyone who subscribed helps me more than you know mentally, gets me going, it gets me ready, and we're going straight to the top. We're building an army here, building the best community on earth. Maybe doing some live streams as well very soon. If you guys like to see that, I'll absolutely do it, and we'll get talking away. We can speak one-on-one, and just drop in the comments down below if you'd like to see that, and we'll get on with it. But I think in this video is really important for me to actually sit back, and I'm going to tell you how the comments came about, okay? People are this is me arguing my point to the people that are saying that Dricus du Plessis, they're still commenting saying, oh, he said the real African. They're not listening, then obviously they're not hearing what's happened. They've not understood this and that. And here's what I'm gonna say. Someone in the comments recently, well, a few people were replying to some of my comments that I put in the comments, and they said, Dricus came out making statements saying, my home soil, this is my homeland, I breathe this air, can't wait to take the belt back to Africa, my Africa, and all this and that. And people were outraged by this. And this is where Dricus did say these comments, and it's more of a fine line now, but there's a valid reason of why. He was massively disrespected by Kamaru Usman, who essentially said, look at your skin colour, Dricus, look at your skin colour. You're white, you're no African, and all this. And then obviously Dricus, that enrages him. He comes out saying, my home, I breathe this air, I'm taking the belt back to my Africa. That was in retaliation to Kamaru Usman saying he wasn't African because he's white. The amount of South Africans in my comments who have dark skin and who have light skin, in the comments saying that it's outrageous how he said this. They are African through and through. Their family's African. Africa's a continent. It's not just Nigeria. It's not just about dark skin. It's a continent. The fact I am sitting before a camera and telling people that is ridiculous. You can be racist towards me all you want. I'm not affected by it. I'm not sensitive to it. And I'm going to say something extremely outrageous here, which I really shouldn't say on camera, but I kind of have built a wee bit of a name now, being blunt and being honest. But there's a certain type of person, maybe like Adesanya or like Usman, who feel like you can only be African when you're that colour, and they won't allow anybody else to claim they're African if they're not the same tone of skin, okay? And personally, as I'm not a South African, as I'm not anything, I'm not going to give any personal take on this. I'm just going to say there's people in my comments that are outraged by this, and they are massively upset and massively angry and gutted to hear and it's split a community, and it's people are saying to me, why do you hate Israel Adesanya? And I'm like, because the pain I'm seeing in the comments, and people are saying, oh, you hate him, he's in your head, you have no reason to hate him, you're just following the ride. I have every reason to hate him. He split a community in the MMA community. He split it between black and white. That's bad enough. But the fact that you've now split it between Africa, the continent that you're supposedly from, and you've made it about, okay, I'm a real African because I'm black, that's destroyed your actual credibility as an African man yourself, okay? You can't claim to be all about Africa and represent them when you're dividing Africa. You're saying, okay, but so you're essentially saying you're only going to represent the black people in Africa and not the whites. So that is outrageous, and it's weird because there's all these people in my comments saying thank you for actually saying this online and articulating it in a way where it's so easy to understand, and that's what you're doing. Yes, you're an African and you've got African heritage, but the fact that you're making it about racial remarks and skin color is dividing the other half of Africa. You're dividing your continent to start a beef that you wanted to start that was made out of nothing. Just to remind you, if some of you have literally no idea what I'm talking about, dricus said he was going to be the first real African UFC champion, meaning the first champion to win a belt through Africa with African training in South Africa, the continent. Usman and Adesanya, because they have, well, not really Usman anymore. He's kind of taken himself out of the situation, mainly because I think he knows it's going to be a little bit of an ugly situation. It's not something you want your name surrounded with, especially when Adesanya is involved and his fans are involved. They're just going to make it how it's been. But you're dividing the continent you're so supposedly proud to be part of, and that is, to me, is just absolutely outrageous. You literally have made this situation out of nothing. Dricus is correct, but because you are unsure of yourself, you don't know who you are, you're lost as an individual, I feel, when it comes to potentially your sexuality, potentially where your loyalty lies, and fair play, you were in Africa until you were 10, but the success you have been given through the UFC that brought you to win your middleweight championship came through China and New Zealand. Your accent is a Kiwi accent. Your tattoo on your chest says broken native. So, brother, by your logic, you're not African after the things you said to Whittaker, and the people know that, and that's a massive talking point, so shut your mouth, Adesanya. Your fans will try and defend you with no backbone, which is powerful because it's like a cult mentality. Your fans will defend you for no reason. Your fans will be on your team no matter what, which is powerful as well. So respect to that. I respect the loyalty, but also there's unjustified delusion that comes into play. And you're splitting your continent that you're trying to represent by saying an African can't be white, and it's destroying people in the comments. They're so angry over it, because think about this though, if you're a proud African and you have white skin, you're so proud to be South African. I've got a friend in real life, his name's Ethan, he's South African, he's proud of it. He's got South Africa, necklaces, and he represents the flag. He went to a job interview with a hoodie with a South Africa flag on it. I remember that. He just wears his country proud, and he's South African, and he's grown up in Scotland, right, for the past 10 years. If someone from South Africa then came to him publicly in let's say he's a big rugby fan, okay? If this situation happened in his sport that he loves, and these dark-skinned individuals were saying to him, you can't be South African, Ethan, because you're white, you can't be an African, I'd imagine it would hurt him to his core, you know what I mean? And Africa's a continent, and he's divided it. You can't sit back and say you're an African through and through when you can't even relate to white-skinned African people. Oh my god, this is actually getting me fired up. You only want to bring in the black Africans? And then you come out with all this, I know where I'm from, and you bring out the accent. Oh, there's the accent. Adesanya's doing the accent again. Just reminding us he can speak a bit of Habu Jabi. I think that's what it's called. I've no idea. I could have just butchered that. So, whatever, and I think he's having an identity crisis. He wants... People are kind of understanding this guy's not a great guy now. Like, I think fair play to him as a fighter. He's an unreal champion and he's made a lot of money, but this guy grew up with servants. You have to remember, this guy, his family was rich in Africa, so they migrated to New Zealand. Fair play to him, but I think you're having an identity crisis because you don't have any touch with your African roots, and that's why your mentality is you can't be African if you're not white, or if you're not black. That's why, because you have no connection to them, in my opinion. I am sharing an opinion, and if you want to argue this and say I'm being biased, there's no bias in this at all. There's not a single bit of bias, because that's the facts and that's the truth, and I am here telling the truth. So, thanks for watching. I hope that helps you understand the divide he's caused. That's what it is. That's just from me reading comments and doing research. Thank you very much. This is not a hate video. I'm not hating anymore. This is a video of, and bear in mind, I didn't get emotional in terms of to my core over this subject, but reading the comments and reading what people have said about this, I'm like, wow. People, like, I should be doing something more to spare a message, because people are grateful for it, and it's making me love doing this again, and it's making me want to push this channel and build an army, a community of great loyal people who would never turn away on a nation that they love, and to all the South Africans in the comments, I'm with you 100% of the way. If you're a black South African, a white South African, bleeding hell, if you're fucking, I don't know, grey, it doesn't matter. And what pisses me off the most is this situation came from nothing. One tiny little comment dricus said that was meant in a different way. Adesanya's taken it and ran with it, and he's destroyed and he's divided his nation he supposedly represents. So fuck him, you dirty dog, you sly bastard. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. That's all I have to say on this topic, and that was an unreal video, an unreal topic to discuss, and it's been said perfectly.